What a weekend. Hi, everybody. I'm Candid Frankie's Aaron William Freeland. This is Maple Leaf Talk, where we talk about what's going on in Canadian sports. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a Canadian league. It can be a Canadian team in a North American league. It can be players playing in Canadian leagues. It can be players playing internationally representing our country. And it can also be a various gaggle of players playing from other countries playing under one banner, and that is the Maple Leaf. And we've had a really interesting past weekend. We saw the Toronto Blue Jays finish tied mathematically with those Bronx Bombers, the New York Yankees. And we saw that because the Jays had a bit of a masterclass over the Yankees, they had an invisible advantage, which only showed itself when it came time to determining who was first and who was second in the division. And that's how slim the edge was between the Blue Jays and the Yankees. Let me underline, that's how slim it was. If it was this weekend, you'd wonder if the Yanks even made the playoffs the way they played. The Toronto Blue Jays this year, I think it's safe to say now. Normally, we don't start with them, but they are the big news, and I'm going to bump them up to first. I'm going to make an executive decision on behalf of Aaron. Aaron was showing respect to the Canadian Football League. We love the Canadian Football League. That hasn't changed. But really, the big story here is all of Canada, and when I say all of Canada, even the people who are getting over hating Toronto are loving on of course the Toronto Blue Jays. And what better team that's American to beat up on than the New York Yankees? Aaron, I guess I'll start by saying this. While it may not have been surprised, I started saying this, while it may not have been surprised that the Jays played the kind of baseball they did this past weekend, I think the surprise has to be that the Yankees played the kind of baseball they did. Not to take anything away from the Jays.
No, not to take anything away from the Jays at all. I think if you look at the overall season series between the Jays and the Yankees, Toronto did come out on top in that 8 wins to 5 losses. The one thing that struck me when it came to the Jays versus the Yankees series was the absolutely horrible defense that they seemed to play at times. They did not look like they were able to handle the ball. They did not look like they were able to complete throws or to field.
But that's another non-surprise, Aaron. The Yankees have been a very bootish kind of team this year. They've had terrible runs, second base, throwing the ball into the stands, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead. My bad.
But when you look at their pitching staff and you look at who they ran out there against the Jays, I don't think anybody expected the Jays to outscore the Yankees by a combined score of 23-8. That I think wasn't anything anybody saw coming in the slightest. I mean, you start with the 10-1 route, just one of those things that nobody expected in the slightest. They scored in the 7th and 8th innings. Kirk managed to get himself 2 home runs. Toronto is now 72-4 this year, which is an absolutely ridiculous statistic when you look at it. They're 72-4 when scoring at least 5 runs. And a lot of Yankees fans were prophesying that Game 2, Fried would run roughshod over Trey Yesavage, but again, that didn't turn out to be the case. Yesavage had 11 strikeouts in 6 innings of work, which was another record for a Toronto pitcher, especially a rookie. No hit through 5 innings, just absolutely stunning delivery from him. By the time it was all said and done and the Yankees tried to start climbing their way back into it, it was all a little too late,
Yeah. When they were at 14-7, I was sitting at a table with a half dozen Jay fans. and I swear to God, I'm watching them and holding their drinks, and I'm saying to myself, God, I hope they don't break that bottle. I hope they don't squeeze that glass too hard. Um, because it was that kind of moment. Just imagine, I looked at them and they said, well, Frank, they were catching up. It was 14-7. I said, I looked at them like this and I went, what would you have been doing if it was 2-1?
Yeah, that's
I mean, but you see, that's the respect of the Yankees, and worse, I say this with my whole heart, and worse, Toronto fans.
yeah. Here's the thing. I think we're all a little too cautious because of the psychological trauma that the Maple Leafs put us all through year after year after year. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah,
that saying, dying by 1,000 cuts.
yeah,
And what about 1,000,000 slices?
oh, absolutely terrible.
I got to tell you though, Aaron, it was nice to watch. It was nice to be amongst other local patrons in the community, and seeing the deep support that this baseball team has. That little red maple leaf, the whole theme of this show, as you know, that's an example of what this is all about. Now, they don't have to be Canadian. We've got a kid there who's a Rochester native. He's part of the Bills, Bills, what do they call it? Bills Nation, Bills Army, something like
Bills
that.
Mafia, yeah.
Bills Mafia, that's it. He's a big fan of the Bills. Ironically, this weekend, the Bills lost while the Jays won both their games. No, it was something to behold. The management team of this Toronto Blue Jays organization has been poo-pooed a lot. Like people have lost faith in them, even going back to 15. Going back that far, that this statistical dedication. Dedication to stats. Numerical decisions, adding things up in a way that you think you can win, and if that's how they did it, Aaron, if that's how they're doing it, if that's how they did it, well, more power to them, because what they've done for this country, especially at this time, at this time where we are today, and to be able to beat really one of two of America's teams. You've got your left coast team, you got your East Coast team. And the Yankees by far are the East Coast franchise that speaks to it's in the name, the Yankees, right?
Exactly.
So this is something that I find truly amazing, that it was a lot of fun. And the truly amazing part for me, Aaron, is the fact that after game one, with all the satisfaction of seeing that 10-1 victory, when it came to game two, there was still a lot of nervousness. And those, 1,000 cuts, 1,000 slices, million slices, whatever it is, it rises up in that second game. A lot of people are going, okay, are they going to screw it up? Are they going to do the Toronto sports team second game fall apart, right? They didn't do it, Aaron. They didn't do it. They didn't fall apart. They came up, in fact, maybe not on the score sheet, because of the point differential, but they did do it to a team that plays with a lot of pride, that carries a lot of pride. For them to beat the Yankees twice the way they did, and now going into Yankee Stadium, it was amazing.
Absolutely. And I'm not one of those Jays fans to sort of count my chickens before they're hatched. Nothing is ever secure in sports until the final whistle goes. And, there is still the very real possibility that hope against hope, the Yankees might be able to come back and do something. But I'm confident that we'll at least make it 5, if nothing else. Just because, like I said, sports, anything is possible. Anybody can win.
How can the Jays lose with a guy named Bieber pitching?
Wow, that's true. They are serving him up for the third game, aren't they?
Just in case you don't know what I'm saying, I'll leave you to figure it out. Not you, but everybody else. Yeah, no, this is something. The Jays' bats were incredible. The pitching was stupendous. And now they've got themselves a 2-time two-time, um, um, well, one of the best pitchers in baseball, um, coming in, the most experience possible that you could have, going into Yankee Stadium, where it's going to be it's going to be a Schmidt show. It's going to be something else there, and that that game, Aaron, Yankee fans are coming to be pissed. They just don't know who they're going to be pissed at. They're not sure. They're not sure who they're going to vent their anger against, because they really don't know. They don't know who they're going to be pissed at more, the Jays or the Yankees.
Based on a lot of the comments that I saw coming out of the Yankees fandom, they're divided on that. They're convinced that their guy batting in the 3-hole shouldn't be there. They're convinced that Judge probably shouldn't see the field again after he booted the ball in that back corner that allowed 2 runs to score. Come on, man. They are a very good team.
They're the ones that brung them. That old saying, you dance with the one that brung you. That's what you should do, and that's what the fans should do. They should realize, this ain't over. The Yankees win a game, then it's only 2-1. Then it's just a game difference. So it can be a steady climb. The job for the Jays to do here tomorrow is to not give the Yankees an opening. Bieber has to, first and foremost, he's got to get out of the first inning. That's what he has to do. He's got to get out of the first inning. Then if he gets out of the first inning, he'll have a chance to settle down, because usually hitters have the advantage early. And
for sure.
It'll be interesting. It'll be an interesting game. And I'm with the Legion, and we have a 50-50 draw at the junior hockey game. Starts at 6:30. The J game starts at 8:08. By the end of the second period, we have to figure out who won the 50-50. And then the good news is I don't have to wait till the very end of the game. I can leave before that. So I'm thinking our friends and us are going to be watching that game probably starting around the second or third inning. And I'm hoping in the second or third inning, the Jays are still in it. That's what I'm hoping. And if they're still in it, then they've got a really good shot, because it's going to be the Yankees needing to really hammer the Jays in this game, because they need to really unleash whatever it is ability they have and free it. And that's going to be the opposite job that the Jays are going to have. They're going to have to hold them down, play the kind of game they've been playing. They don't have to do anything fancy here. They just have to be the Toronto Blue Jays that we've seen all year, the Jays that they can be. Obviously, there've been streaks that the Jays haven't been so good. Hopefully this streak will last a little longer. But good.
Well, the big thing that I took away from a lot of the season was the fact that we never lost more than 2 games in a row. Few exceptions, but for the most part, we never lost more than 2 games in a row. And in a best of 5 series, that's the best that you can hope for. There's that to bear in mind as well.
Absolutely. Okay, let's go back to the Canadian Football League, where we were going to start, but we decided, in my infinite excitement with what the Jays are doing, and of course, this being a pro-Canada show, Canadian fans are celebrating, of course, the fact that the Jays are in the playoffs, and maybe you'll be in the American League Final if they can win that game tomorrow. Let's talk about the Canadian Football League and the Lions, the British Columbia Lions. They punched their playoff ticket by beating the Stamps, who are on the opposite of a roll.
Yeah, this is very much 2 teams passing each other in absolutely different directions. Rourke finished the game 25 for 32 with 414 yards, 4 scores, and 2 interceptions, pushing his career record against Calgary to 4-0, and pushing BC to a 4th straight win. On the other side of the coin, Calgary on the way down, that's has not looked good for them. It had a very promising start to the season, and as it currently stands, 6-3-0 against divisional opponents. I was expecting better out of Calgary than that, but As it stands, BC at 9-7 has locked themselves in behind Saskatchewan, who are 11-4, and currently tied with Winnipeg 8-7. So that is where that currently stands for them. Decent performances all around. They just didn't get it when they needed it. So,
absolutely. Well, it does mean that BC now has locked themselves into a playoff spot. No guarantees at this point. Whether, well, I guess have they locked in second place? I'm not really sure.
It looks like they have. There's only 2 games left in the season, and they're 9-7. Calgary has 3 games left, and they're 8-7. But based on strength of schedule, I think BC is going to be sitting pretty at this point because I think BC's got the tiebreaker, over the Stampeders.
So it'll either be Winnipeg or Calgary that crosses over to the east to play Montreal or Hamilton, whichever team. Looks like it'll be. Well, still Montreal has 3 games left, so they've got a shot. The Tiger Cats beat the Argonauts. We were there for that game. Wow. A Schmidt show that was.
Did not look good. They were up 23 points at halftime. Bo Levi Mitchell was absolutely on fire. They managed to get it to within 10 in the second half, but Hamilton's pass rush was absolutely dominant. It's one of those situations where it didn't look like anything that the Argos did would turn out right.
Absolutely.
One of those frustrating games to watch for sure. The only consolation I have at this is hopefully by the time the next season comes around, Chad Kelly will be ready to go. So.
Okay, let's go down to the NHL and the Canadian teams there, and let's start with the Habs.
Sure. So the Habs have been busy paring down their roster. Owen Beck, Adam Engstrom, and Florian Jacki have all been assigned to the AHL affiliate, the Laval Rocket. They also placed forward Sammy Blaze and Kaapo Kähkönen on waivers for the purpose of sending them down as well.
Oopsies.
Yeah, we'll be able to touch on that a little bit later, but it's one of those situations where they've got a clear room, and there's the risk that you're going to lose some of those players that you're going to be sending down. It's unfortunate.
And if your depth is really good, and if you have some players with a lot of upside, they could disappear.
100%.
Which we'll talk about later, I guess. How about Ottawa? They swung the axe for their opening night on the horizon.
Yeah, they had a lot of work to do. They had to have the roster submitted as at an hour and 15 minutes ago. There were 6 players that were put on waivers. That would be Jan Yannick, Hayden Hodgson, Ollie Lakesell, Oliver Kaliev, Lassie Thompson, and Mads Sogard. Now, those players were all able to skate with the club. Stephen Halliday was also moved to Belleville, but he doesn't require waivers. Most of the roster is currently set with 13 forwards, 9 defensemen, and 2 goalies. But because of issues with Drake Batherson and Tyler Cleven's health, that's also going to play into it. Now, the club still has 24 players. Batherson or Cleven would have to go to injured reserve to not make any more moves. All of the players that were sent down, for the most part, had good camps. It's just they just don't have the room to carry them up. So.
And they're going to go with veterans. The Jets signed forward Nikita Chibrov.
Yeah, so Nikita Chibrov got a 2-year contract extension. It's an average annual value of $875K. He had 2 goals and an assist in 4 games for the Jets last season. He had 18 points. That's 7 goals and 11 assists in 30 games for the Manitoba Moose in 24-25 before suffering a season-ending injury. He actually became the first player in franchise history to score a goal in each of his first 3 games as a Jet. And he had 1 goal in the only other NHL game he played in 23-24. He's small. He's 5'10", 170, and was a second-round pick by the Jets in the 21 draft. But they're looking forward to his continued development with the Moose.
Jake Wallman signs with the Oilers.
Yeah, this was big news out of Edmonton. He signed a 7-year, $49 million extension. Now, they actually picked him up in a trade with San Jose at last season's deadline. He's from Toronto. He had a goal and 7 assists in 15 regular season games for the Oilers, and added 2 goals and 8 assists in 22 playoff games. All told, he actually had a career high season last year with 33 assists, 40 points, and averaging 22 minutes and 46 seconds in ice time. The 65 combined games that he played last year was also the most of his 6-year NHL career dating back to 2019-2020.
The Oilers also happened to sign maybe a guy not as big a deal as as their defenseman. They just signed Jake Malman. They signed a guy named Aaron,
Connor Ingram.
Connor McDavid.
Yeah, that's the gentleman there.
2 years, $12.5 million.
Yeah, that's going to take him all the way through to the end of the 27-28 season. This deal actually makes sense for McDavid, at least, because come the 28-29 season, the salary cap is projected to be either at 113.5 or north of. This means that he's going to be able to request an annual salary of $22.7 million. This would make him the highest player in the league again. As it currently stands, he's still getting less than Leon Draisaitl, at least for the next 3 years, because he has 12.5 left on this year's contract, and then 12.5 for the next 2 after that. This puts pressure on the Oilers front office, but also opens the door at the end of 2 years if the Oilers haven't managed to do what McDavid wants to do, for him to come to different climes, shall we say. I wouldn't necessarily say sunnier, but different climes.
No, I think he'll move east, and I'll just say that there's a good chance because Austin Matthews' contract coincides now with Connor McDavid's. Both their contracts end at the same time.
So what you're saying then is because Ottawa has the room, they're both going to be going to the nation's capital.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
So what I'm saying is, Aaron knows exactly what I'm saying. I've been talking about this for a while, and the cards and the stars are starting to align. What he's done now is, in my opinion, my humble opinion, I mean it seriously, humble. He has created a situation here where he said, okay, Edmonton, here's 2 years. You're paying me $12.5. And if I had asked for 17, 18 million, nobody would have flinched, especially considering how the Thrill is making 17 million. So he essentially gave them $15 million, because he could have made 19.5, and that's 7.5. He could have made 20 even. He could have. The point is, he's given that money to play with. So he's done his part for this team that he's with right now to win the cup. If they don't win the cup and he decides I'm going someplace else, nobody can bitch about it. Edmonton can't bitch about it. Nobody can bitch about it. And what I'm saying is he's going to come to Toronto and undo the Marner mischief that happened. And he's going to come to Toronto, and Matthews is going to get to go where he wants to go. And I see him in New York or LA. That's who I see Matthews being. I see him being a star player who wants to be treated like a star. And he'll get to be treated like a star if he goes to LA or New York. And LA's where he was born. He was born in LA and moved to Arizona. So he'd be going back home too. And here's the other thing, folks. If you think that hockey hasn't reached the point that basketball has, where there's coercion, where there's gamesmanship, where there's players determining what they're going to do, this is going to be the moment when the National Hockey League players act just like the NBA players, basically decide where they're going to play. And I believe Matthews loves playing in Toronto. Do not confuse what I just said with Matthews going to LA or to New York. He's a star, and he's a guy who loves the position of being a star. Don't kid yourself. He loves acting. He loves doing those commercials. And he's going to get a great chance to do it if he goes to LA or New York. And he'll be creating an opening that Connor McDavid can dive in. And he can come to this town, to Toronto, and show how well Leaf players can be treated, which for the most part they have. I believe Mitch Marner is an anomaly that needs to be erased, because I never expected that a Leaf player would behave the way Marner has, and throwing all the Leaf fans under the bus because of a couple.
Yeah, it's something that's going to take a little while to get the taste of that out of our mouths, especially the way that he bust us. But sometimes players have their own axes to grind, and now that he's in sunnier climes, I wish him all the best.
Except for when he plays Toronto.
Except for when he plays Toronto.
Except for when he plays Calgary, and except for when he plays Edmonton, and except for when he plays Vancouver, and except when he plays Winnipeg. It's okay if he plays well against Montreal. Oh, sorry, that's not nice of me. Okay, and except for when he plays Montreal and Ottawa.
Well, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I wish him all the success in the world, just not against any Canadian team.
None of the Canadian teams, and none of the. I want to see him. And how he behaves if things don't go well in Vegas. I want to see if he's grown up any. I want to see if he's got himself something going on now that he can show that he learned from the experience in Toronto, because he did some things that were wrong in Toronto as well. As much as Toronto people made mistakes against him, which I don't disagree with. Nobody should be threatened. Nobody should feel unsafe. No family member should be punished for something they didn't do just because their family members are Maple Leaf. That is horrendous. But that is not the act of all Leaf fans. That was the act of a few stupid ones. And they exist everywhere. So that isn't something that's, just about Toronto. All right. So the Jets signed Nikita. We did that. Let's talk about the Flames. They finalized the roster.
Yep. So at this point here, Conroy's down to a few different options here. They didn't actually have a single name on the NHL's waiver dump on Sunday, which is good news for Danny Miramanov and for any other waiver-eligible veterans. The decision to keep Miramanov will spark some frustration amongst fans. They've been calling for him to be demoted to the Wranglers. He is their 8th defenseman. The Flames, however, are still carrying 24 players on their active roster. Now, they have a couple different options here. One of them is to be keeping Gryden up with them, while Huberdeau, who hasn't been spotted on the ice since he was injured Wednesday, could go to LTIR. He's currently listed as day-to-day. The other option would be to send Gryden down to the AHL's Wranglers to make a little more space. The third option that they have is to send Zane Parekh, who's only 19, back to the OHL. Now, because of his age, Parekh isn't eligible to skate in the AHL this season, so he'd have to go back to the OHL Saginaw Spirit as an overager. He wouldn't necessarily benefit as much from that. And the fourth and most unlikely option would be for the Flames to swing a trade, and that would be strictly for a body with nothing coming back. Something for future considerations just to free up the space. So I'll be checking in a little bit later just to see if there's anything else that has come down. But I'm not seeing any final rosters having been posted yet. But we'll keep everybody posted.
Knuckleheads.
Yeah, so they're hoping for a little bit more success by bolstering some of their players when it comes to overtime. The Vancouver Canucks only won 7 overtime games last season. They also tied for fewest wins in overtime with just 14. Basically, had they won more of those games, they might have actually made the playoffs. But it's death by 1,000 cuts. They blew 3-0 and 4-1 leads to the Flames in their home opener last year. JT Miller wasn't who they thought he was going to be for them. They lost 5 games in overtime in December. Problem is, again, they're going to be nickel and diming when it comes to this sort of thing.
Absolutely. Now let's go to Leafs. They waived 4 players.
Yeah, they did throw a whole bunch of players onto the waiver wire. They put Dakota Mermis, Henry Thrun, Matt Benning, and Michael Pezzetta on waivers. Included on waivers were also Sammy Blais, Kakinen, Hodgson, Yannick, Heinola, Dewar, And the reason why is because the Leafs defense is pretty much set with Riley, Tanev, McCabe, Carlo, Ekman, Larson, and Benoit all returning with the club. Philippe Myers is apparently going to be starting up with the big club this year instead of playing with the Marlies. Now, he did win a spot on the roster out of training camp last year. Ben Danford is still currently with the Leafs, but I believe they're going to be sending him back to his junior club as well.
Absolutely. Now, what about Reimer?
Well, he's still up in the air because he's on a PTO. This is one of those things where it's one of those murky situations. They're getting ready to pare down the roster. Obviously, they're going to have to take it minute by minute when it comes to this sort of thing. They have the following three options available to them: sign him to a standard player contract, adding him on either a number 2 or most likely a number 3, release him from his professional tryout, or extend his tryout by converting it to an AHL PTO, giving him some reps in the minors, seeing as he didn't get a lot of action in the Maple Leafs net during the preseason. It's going to be interesting for him, but things are about to get a little more crowded in the crease as well, based on what came over the waiver wire shortly before the show started. So,
absolutely. All right. So now we've got the Leafs Berube, who believes that their youngster, Easton Cowan, deserves to be with the NHL team. Why is that, Aaron?
Well, he played 19 minutes and 10 seconds on Saturday. That was third most amongst Leafs forwards, right behind Nick Robertson and Kelly Yarncrook. He's played in 5 of Toronto's 6 preseason games. He didn't score, but Berube was very enthused about how his training camp went. It seems more and more likely, ever since that Saturday game, he's been drawing more reps towards getting a spot on Toronto's opening night roster. David Kampf went on waivers and cleared on Saturday afternoon. That's another sign that he might make the team ahead of their season opener on Wednesday. Scott Lawton got injured. That's another opportunity for him to step into the lineup. But it's a big leap. It's a big leap from junior to the NHL, and even with him getting reps with the Marlies last year, it's not a guarantee.
Absolutely, and of course the Leafs picked 2 players off the waiver wire, 2 ex-Canadians.
Yeah, so they got Caden Primo off waivers, ex-Montreal Canadiens. Was a Hurricane at the point that he was picked up, and Sammy Blais, who we mentioned a little bit earlier in the broadcast, is coming off waivers for the Habs. Primo played well in the AHL last season. He had a 21-2-3 record with a .927 save percentage, but he had a 2-3-1 record with an .836 save percentage and a 4.7 goals against with the Habs. He managed to get himself a chunk of the Harry Happ Holmes Award as part of the best goaltending duo. The problem that we have here is he hasn't exactly been scintillating when he's played. Now, a part of that could be the team that he was playing behind.
Well, he's in fairness to him, in college he was a really good goaltender. He's like 42-5, I think. And even in Montreal he was good goaltending. The bad thing was the playoffs. That's the sore point that sticks in his. And I think the Leafs believe he's less that and more what he is the rest of the time. So he'll be an interesting little pickup. Blaze, what about him? What do you think of this guy?
Well, he's got 145 points in 199 career AHL games, and he won the gold medal with Team Canada in the 2023 World Championship. So that's something that he's got going for him. I think that they got him more for depth than anything else. Now, he did have 27 goals and 71 points in 257 career NHL games. He's also one of Berube's guys from the 2019 Stanley Cup winning St. Louis Blues. So part of that might have been a known quantity. Well, you know how Dubas loves his guys. Craig loves his guys too.
Yeah, and as well, he should. Well, it's an interesting thing, and you know what, Aaron, what we saw today with the signing that McDavid did, I already had a ton of respect for that man. I today even have more respect. I've talked to you over the years about, the situation where players, if they really want to win the cup, they've got to prove it. They can't just say they want to do it. And when they say they want to play somewhere, they've got to be willing to play there. They got to show that that's where they want to be. And I think two things that were established with this contract. McDavid wants to win the cup, and McDavid wants to do it in Edmonton, but the clock is ticking. Edmonton has a few years now. They've got a window with him, and I truly believe that window will shrink if they don't win a cup and he ends up leaving. And when and if he does, Aaron, nobody's going to be able to say, what a classless move leaving Edmonton. No, he signed a really team-friendly contract. He said, here you go. And if they can't accomplish what he needs, he'll have a right to go elsewhere to find it. And good for him.
He's given them 3 years at a discount. So it's up to them to do it from here. Build around him.
Absolutely. All right, Aaron, thanks for doing this, buddy.
No worries.
He's Aaron William Freeland. I'm Candid Frank Stanishi. Thank you for watching. Don't forget Candid Frank Stanishi, 10:30 on YouTube. Have a great day, everybody. Jays tomorrow, Tuesday.